In our last example, we demonstrated how to run a PHP script on the command line with Drush after bootstrapping Drupal and having access to all of its functions. In this example, we're going to extend that a bit to be able to supply arguments to that script, and this will be a precursor to creating a custom Drush command. I'm going to jump to the File Explorer, and here in our Drupal scripts folder, which we've already used the last_access.php file in, there's a last_accessed_with-arguments.php file. And that's the one that we're going to use this time around. I'm going to jump back to the command line. And just like before, we're going to run drush php-script, and we're going to point up one level to the Drupal scripts folder. And this time we're pointing to the last_accessed_with-arguments.php file. And we're also passing two parameters here, count and time first. And what count will do is override the default number of users to display, and time first will reverse the display to show the time first instead of the username. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. So the output looks just a little bit different than it did before in our last script. In this case, it's showing the time difference first and then the username last. And we're also only showing one user because we set count to 1. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the script and see how we did this. So I'm going to jump back to the File Explorer, and I'm going to open up last_accessed_with-arguments.php. Now what we're doing here is creating an artificial structure for our arguments to make it look like the arguments that we would pass to a native Drush command. The variable that we're pulling these parameters from is the server argv parameter. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this variable real quick and see what's inside it. So what I'm going to do is copy this, and I'm going to create a new line in this script to output the value of it. So what I'm doing here is var dump, which will show us all of the contents of the variable, and then passing it the variable server argv. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I'm going to jump back to the command line, and we're going to run the command one more time. I'm just pressing up to copy the command that we used before, and I'm hitting enter. Okay, so when we're looking at this particular variable, it's an array that has 6 items here. The first item is the path to drush.php. The second is php-script. This is the command that we're running. This third item is the path to the PHP script that we're running right now. And then the next 2 items are our parameters. And notice that the value of this item is the full parameter. So this is the dash dash, and then the name of the parameter, the equal sign, and then the value of it. So in order to use this in our script, we're going to need to separate out the name from the value here. In this second item, notice that the structure is the same, where we're passing time first equals 1 in. And then this last item is the path to PHP. So now let's jump back to the script and see how we're parsing these out. I'm going to go ahead and remove this var dump line and save it. So the first thing I'm specifying here is the possible arguments that we're going to accept. And the 2 possibilities are count and time first. Our next step is to loop through all of the items in the server argv array, and then for each one of these items, we're going to loop through the possible arguments that it could be and see if this particular value is one of these possible arguments. And the way that we're checking is by using the str function, which will check for the existence of a string within another string. The first parameter is the string that we're going to be checking inside of, and the second parameter is the string that we're going to check for. So what we're looking for is the dash dash, the name of the argument, and then an equal sign. And if we find that, what we're going to do is replace out this dash dash argument name equal sign with emptiness, and then set that as an item in an arguments array that we can then use later on in the script. So by the time we loop through all of these server arguments, each time looping through the possible arguments that could be within that item, we'll have a short list of arguments that we accept inside of our arguments variable, and so we can use that throughout the script. Now because these parameters are optional, we need to set defaults if they're not going to be set. So first we're checking to see if there's a count argument. If not, we're going to set it to 10. Then we're going to run the query just like we did before, except we're replacing this limit item, which was set to 10 in our previous example, to arguments count, which could be 10, but it could also be a variable passed in through the command. We're going to run the query, and then we're going to loop through each one. And here we're going to check to see if the time first argument is passed by checking if it equals 1. If so, what we're going to do is reverse the order of information here to show the time first, and then the username. If this isn't set, what we're going to do is show the username first and then the time. So let's go ahead and jump back to the command line and then run this one more time. So again, we're running the php-script drush command. We're pointing to the name of the script. We're passing the count parameter and the time first parameter, and our script will go ahead and parse those out. If we hit enter, we'll see our output right here. Now this can be useful to create quick, flexible utilities on the Drush command line, but if we want something that's a little bit more robust, something that has help built into it, something where we can even provide shorter aliases for the command, then we need to create a Drush native command, and that's what we'll do in the next video.